Kentucky News, October 10th, 2013. Several things have happened in the last couple of days. Always shit happening in Kentucky. I also have like 5 or 6 views on each one of these videos, so it's clear to me that nobody gives a fuck about nobody actually cares about what's going on. No one cares about the news. I guess it's got to be packaged like in a nice, neat little package. But even then, like, who the fuck likes the way the reporters talk to you? They talk to you in like this reporter voice. They'll say, "And over here by the creek, somebody was shot and stabbed," as if you're the dumbest, you're the biggest dumb fuck on the whole fucking planet. It's bullshit. But in terms of what the media tells us and what we need to know are always two different things. I want a media that actually has a principle-based core, and they provide us with the information that we need in order to make informed decisions. Just even a brush up on civics and on the law, and the Constitution, on the judicial, executive, legislation, who our elected representatives are, what they're up to, are they doing anything? Those types of stories. So anyways, news, Eastbound and Down's coming out with some new episodes. South Park's coming out with some new episodes. They had an episode last night about Trayvon Martin. It was pretty hard-hitting. And, so check out those shows. Eastbound and Down, Kenny Powers is back. It's news, and it's also crazy how these brand new television shows always come out when school starts. So if you're a school, you have not only all this homework to do, but you have all this great TV to watch. And why is the TV schedules exactly lined up with the student schedules? Is it just for the adults? The adults send their kids to school and then they need some sort of entertainment? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It's not fair to the students. They're in prison. They're in hell anyways. Okay, so in Danville, Kentucky, they caught the guy who murdered the 3 people in the pawn shop in Danville, Kentucky. There's a pawn shop that was it was robbed, and 3 people were left dead. Both of the mother and the father, a small business owner, mom and pop's shop. And they were shot, killed, and then another dude was shot and killed, and they couldn't find out who did it. Turns out that the guy is a minister. He's a Baptist minister. So a Baptist, well, they've arrested this man, okay? The cops have arrested this man. So you're innocent until proven guilty, right? Gallup County doesn't believe that, or at least the security guards in Gallup County, they always harass you, and they look like they're going to try to molest you. Gallup County, Kentucky, whenever you walk in. And it's almost like they have like that predator, oppressor, molester eye, right? They got that eye, they just want to fuck with you. And, it doesn't matter if you're guilty or not, they just assume since you're walking through the doors you're guilty. So, I'm not going to, Kenneth Keith is the Baptist minister who they arrested. Kenneth Allen Keith. I've been checking out his, it's hard to fucking say, Allen Keith. So I've been checking out his Facebook page and just kind of seeing who this guy is. He looks like a weird dude. I don't know if he would actually do it. He wrote on his Facebook page something about how wonderful these people are. They were very, wonderful people. The people that got shot, Mike and Angela, he said, were his counselors. Mike and Angela are his counselors, and he knew Dan and his wife. Dan had donated money to his church for the youth ministry groups. So, this Kenneth Keith knew all the people that were involved in the pawn shop murders or homicides at all the pawn shop murders that were happening in Danville, Kentucky. Okay, so Danville, Kentucky, you have a Baptist minister who's in this pawn shop early one morning and shoots the mother and the father in front of the 9-year-old and the 2-year-old or 1-year-old. 9-year-old takes 2-year-old in the closet, hides, and then calls the cops. So the 9-year-old boy is a hero, and he should always be a hero. He should be placed in. He'll always have that. He'll have a halo over him. So hopefully he does well. But sometimes having a halo over you don't actually protect you. So, Kenneth Allen Keith, 48, of Burnside, Kentucky, was arrested for the murder of Michael and Angela Hawkins Smith of Lincoln County, along with the 3rd victim, Daniel Smith of Richmond. Kenneth Keith is the minister of Main Street Baptist Church in Burnside, the south end of Pulaski, Pulaski County, 2 counties south of Boyle County, Danville, the murders took place. So his Facebook page is allen.keith.7, facebook.com / that's the URL address, ALLEN.KEITH.7. I've been all over this dude's Facebook page. Weird how he took a picture of all this police at an IHOP, and he was like, oh, it's the safest IHOP everywhere. But he said he was in Georgia, and someone said, we're at in Georgia, or Alabama. They said he was in Alabama. We're at in Alabama, and he never responded. Another headline said Allen Keith's from Pulaski County, which is 2 counties down from Boyle County, where Danville is. So they caught him, but he's not actually in the county where the murders took place. On September 21st, he said that Mike and Angela were counselors. So on the day that they were murdered, he admits that he knew them and how integrated into his culture they were. Dan had given money to support the youth group, so that's Daniel Smith of Richmond. And then he also says that he was married. Mary was his wife. So he knew the people. He intimately knew them. He was right in the middle of all of them. He's a Baptist preacher. He's a Republican. He's a Republican Baptist. He's a teabagger, Republican Baptist. Okay, so he has all these anti-Obama, ads that are going on. He's a psycho. He put in on one of his status updates, partial obedience to God is complete disobedience to God. So he's saying if you're partially disobedient to God, then you're completely disobedient to God, which isn't logically true, but it just shows how tyrannical this psychopath is. You do as I say, when I say it, and that's the way it is, motherfuckers. Baptist ministers. Baptist ministers. So that's what they say. They're hierarchical. They understand hierarchy. And if you're not completely obedient to them, if you say clean up the yard, make me dinner, and clean my clothes, and they only do the yard and make you dinner and they don't clean the clothes, well, that's disobedience to God. You're going to go to hell. Same thing with, I guess, the youth ministers. Do this, do that, youth ministers. Do as I say. And also, I think that the power has a lot to do with it. Kenneth Keith also owned the building that the pawn shop was in. So he owned the Pawn Gold or whatever, ABC Gold, in Danville, Kentucky. So he owns it, right? And then he sells it. And then I hear that Mike Hawkinsmith was Kenneth Keith's manager. So Kenneth Keith has to sell the building to Michael Hawkinsmith. Michael Hawkinsmith buys it, but he don't want to just kick him out of his building or whatever, so he hires him. And since dude knew the building, dude been in the building, he knew how to get in, probably even had a key, and he had recording equipment. You have all this recording equipment that was taken down or taken out, so there was no evidence. So he knew all this. He knew he was right in the middle of it, and he's in a perfect spot to be the villain. But it does seem like he's an extra psychopath that he would even say, wow, may God have mercy on your soul. He says, it sucks that this murder has happened, but take a breath because that's God's breath. So if he didn't do it, then, then those are genuine sentiments. If he did do it, what a psycho. What a psycho. He murders 3 people, posts on Facebook how great of people they were, but let's forget about it. Let's just pray to God. Just give our power to God. 3 people are dead. Who gives a shit? Let's just start praying to God. So Kenneth Keith wanted to take the next step, right, for closure, to heal by forgetting what the fuck happened. And of course, he wanted everybody to forget what happened, since he was the one doing it. Most likely. The police have arrested him, and it is wrong to just rush to judgment like this. And hopefully, I don't know. I mean, if the cops don't have the right guy, shame on the police, and I think there should be some charges put on the police officers. They haven't been forthcoming with information, which they never are, and a lot of times they don't catch the damn thing. So they're not telling anybody what the fuck they're doing. They act like they're doing shit. They ain't doing shit. The people need to be holding the police accountable. There needs to be citizen complaint groups. After the riots in Cincinnati, there are citizen complaint groups that were formed right afterwards, and the citizen complaint groups allow the citizens to be able to file the complaints, but also to carry out with those, questions that they had. So say right now with this Danville case, what do you do? If you're a citizen, what do you do? you know a lot about what's going on, and you see the police doing the same, but we're supposed to be just spectators, not participants in the whole ordeal. But I wonder if we all started participating in our democracy and in our government, and how much better we would feel about, living in a so-called democracy. The so-called democracy surely looks like a police state. So, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, who knows? They don't say who the police officers are that arrested them or who's working the case. You did see the police chief come out and make several reports, and so, there is one person's face on the matter, and yeah, so there's several other things have been going on recently, not just the possible murderer, caught. There's Tony Foster Jr., his son, Hayden Ray Foster. Hayden Ray Foster was born October 9th, 2013 at 5 p.m., weighed 6 pounds, 7.5 ounces, and is 20 inches long. So Haley White's the mother, Tony Foster Jr. is the father. So Hayden Ray Foster was born October 9th, 5 p.m., last night. So that's Kentucky news, right? So, I think when we start talking about what the media is supposed to report to us and what we should know, that birthdays would be something that you would want to know. There's more news. So you have Kentucky farmers a millionaire thanks to the Hoosier Lotto. This is according to WDRB.com. Louisville, Kentucky. Kentucky farmers now a millionaire thanks to the Hoosier Lotto. Marshall Morgan of Guston, Kentucky, and Meade counties claimed a $3.5 million Hoosier Lotto jackpot. So some dude in Meade County bought a lotto ticket in Indiana, won $3.5 million. It was Morgan's wife, Dolores, who bought Saturday's winning ticket at a BP on Highway 135 in Corydon. Company took the cash option, receiving $1.1 million before taxes. So give me all the money right now. I don't want, payments over the years for $3.5 million. With the winnings, Dolores Morgan plans to remodel their home, take a trip to Hawaii. Marshall Morgan says the money won't keep him out of field, though he's eager to pay some debt off. Won't keep him out of the field. I'm not because he's a farmer. Right, I got you. So it takes the stress off. Last year's crops didn't do so well. When you farm, you always have debts. You get out of bed to get out of debt, which is a sad life, right? So good for him. A farmer won $1 million, or $1.1 million since he did the bailout option. A coroner identified East Louisville woman hit and run by a vehicle, hit and killed by a vehicle. A woman hit by a vehicle and killed Wednesday night in West Louisville. It says East Louisville, West Louisville. They ain't fucking telling us. It says Westport Road at Langdon Drive. So Adrian Bergstalter, age 34. When she was hit by a Jeep just after 9 p.m. Wednesday, she was pronounced dead at the scene, according to a deputy coroner. Bergstalter lived nearby. No charges were expected to be filed against the driver. Police believe it was an accident. So you hit and run, and then they took off, and now they can't find him. So lady's dead. If you're just walking around at night and someone tries to run your ass over and there's no witnesses, it seems like they'll get away with it, and they're not going to file any charges. I think hitting and running after that happened, it says she was hit by a Jeep, so I guess they stayed at the scene. So I guess that's a little bit better. But again, the police officers' names aren't being released. The person who murdered this poor lady, Adrian Bergstalter, age 34, as she was crossing Westport Road at Langdon Drive. Basically that's the only story we know. We know Jerry Brown saw this dead lady, and he doesn't say who the police officers are that were involved in this investigation, who the person was that actually murdered another person. So there's some holes in this story. You also have, Louisville has their own Casey Anthony. They has their own O.J. Simpson, their own George Zimmerman here. You have a person that's in the public limelight who is, was guilty, okay? So this dude, I just do it real fast, but I just saw the Wave3.com headline news was talking about the young was admitting that he was going to smoke pot. Okay, so you have this boy and the father brutally kills like the stepson or a neighbor or a friend or some shit, and he gets his son to do it. And everybody knows that the son had did it, but instead of making that moral judgment of what do you do when a son who's forced to murder somebody because his daddy tells him to, how do you punish that person? Instead, they just pretend like he didn't do shit and said he was not guilty.